Super dad moves at the end there. Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Keith. Welcome to episode 6 of Down to the Merrow. We're gonna do kind of a chill episode this time around, I think. It's late at night here. I couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd come down here and get kind of nerdy on your guys' questions. So we're gonna dive right in and just go for it and have a good time. So I'm starting to notice that a lot of the questions you guys are sending in for this Q&A are mixing related or production related, and a lot of questions about my guitar tones that end up on my songs. So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna open up a couple sessions, see if we can answer some of those questions and ultimately do some science. I don't know how this is gonna turn out yet, but it's probably best experienced either through studio monitors or headphones, because we're messing around in recording sessions. So, damn, hella cottonmouth right now. All right, so this first question comes from Jeff Cooper, and he asks, are you miking your amps for recording, reading the bones for example, or are you using a Kemper profile directly? If you are miking, which do you prefer on your cabs? Okay, so I'm assuming he's talking about the main rhythm guitars. For that album, it was my old PV5150 with a Strymon Sunset boost pedal in front of it, running into a Randall isolation cabinet in the other room, which has a 112 warehouse guitar speakers. It was a prototype, so I don't really have a model name of it. And then I just had an SM57 slightly off axis pointed directly at the cone. As far as like my favorite microphone for a guitar cabinet, I always just end up going back to an SM57. It's just tried and true. It gets me the sound I'm looking for really quick and easy. I do like to experiment every once in a while with other microphones, but for the most part, like my sound, it usually comes from a Shure SM57. All right, this next question is from Gabriel, and he asks, hey Keith, any chance we could get a mix walkthrough for any of your tunes? Would be really cool to see what you use on your 2-bus and how you mix those crushing guitar tones. So I have the session for Reading the Bones open now. I do entire albums in one session. Does anyone else do that? Like put everything on one timeline and just work in one box? I find it a little bit easier to work that way for some reason. But there's just a lot of tracks to try to make sense of. 154 tracks. This is not a really good session for us to kind of dive deep into. But what I can do is I can show you on this particular album how little processing is actually involved in my guitar sound. Guitar left and guitar right, like the individual tracks, I don't have anything on them at all. And then on my guitar bus, the only thing I have is a Pultec EQP1A, the Universal Audio EQP1A plugin. And I'm just doing the 60 Hertz trick where you boost and attenuate at the same time to sort of round out or carve out a little bit of the low end and the sub frequencies. Got a really super wide Q on it, and I'm boosting around 12 because my particular cabinet has a really cool air sound to it, and I like pumping that forward a lot. And then I'm just attenuating around 10 just a little bit. The high end of this plugin kind of does the same thing that the low end does, so it's an old trick. People have been doing it forever. A lot of people use it on bass guitar or kick drum, but it's also really killer for guitar, and I've been doing that for probably about 10 years. If there's any secret at all to my sound, I mean, maybe that has something to do with it, but it's doing such a small part that I'm not sure it is even really worth noting. And then I just have this Shadow Hills compressor on my bus, which is just kind of like a transparent leveler. You're not meant to hear the compression, it's just sort of smoothing it out, doing what compression does in a very discreet and transparent way. I mean, I could use any compressor to get the same result. I just happen to like this one. So I mean, that's honestly all there is. Look, I'll turn everything off. There's nothing enabled on either of the tracks. So what you're hearing is basically how it was recorded straight from the microphone into the DAW. I actually created another session to answer a couple other questions that's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit easier to work within. So we're gonna go ahead and switch sessions right now. And here we are in this nice, tidy, fresh new session. And this is basically my writing template that I use. It's got a very basic drum kit on it. Not a whole lot of plugins at all, very minimal plugins, because sometimes I want to run this on a laptop and I might not have the plugins or something, and I just want to be able to open up a session and go and start recording immediately. That's basically what this is. But what I've done is I've altered this a little bit so I could tailor it to a question that I got from Guitar Gogden. His question is, you must be the only YouTube guitarist I've never seen pushing Neural DSP or any other guitar plugins. What's up with that? And when can we expect Archetype Merrow? Well, I can't really answer the last part of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little comparison shootout between my 5150 amp, a Kemper profile of my 5150 amp, the Omega Granifier, or wait, what is that thing called? Grandma-fier. Also the Neural DSP Archetype Plini, as well as a stock Presonus Ampire VST plugin. I figured I would just throw that in there like for comparison, just to see how it hangs with like the one everyone hypes about. So we're just gonna let it play and you can check it out. So I have another test set up, and this is usually where I find like software plugins to kind of lack in some areas. And that's when you do like a really choked palm mute and you hang it. Like, how does it react when you really dig in? Sometimes it sounds weird, like it gets this plastic kind of thing going in like the mid-range. It almost overwhelms the plugin or something, whereas like if you were to hit an amp with that same amount of energy, it would actually sound cool. But for a plugin, like most of the time, it just kind of like fails to do that. So this riff is like a lot more choked up, and basically when you dig in like that, you can kind of hear certain little artifacting that plugins sometimes do, and we'll see if that does that here. So listen real close with your headphones on, all right? But there you go. There's some comparisons between a 5150 amplifier, a Kemper, some Merrow DSP plugins, and a plugin that comes stock inside of Studio One Pro. I mean, these days it's pretty easy to get a good tone out of all kinds of different things that you wouldn't even expect for the most part as well. Like 15 years ago, I would have been stoked to have the tone coming out of that Personas thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like the bar has been raised pretty high, but I really love the Kemper because it just gets it done. Man, people are always calling me during these videos. It's fucking nuts. Hey Google, shut the f up. But hopefully I answered Guitar Gogden's question about Neural DSP. I think it's an awesome plugin. I think in terms of software plugins, it's probably the best on the market. I think the Plini plugin sounds really awesome, great all around, and you can push it into death metal territory pretty easily. And I bet you that's because Simon Grove had something to do with this. I noticed his name was in like the menus, like he has presets inside of this plugin. Last time I was in Australia, I hung out with Simon Grove and we sat and nerded out about death metal. And when you go into the high gain mode on this thing, you can get some death metal tones out of it pretty good. I want to see if I can get something real grindy and gnarly, like, I don't know, like a Vogg from Decapitated kind of tone. God, what a burner that is. That whole album is a burner. We're looking at Decapitated, Sensual Sickness off of The Negation, which I think was 2003. I don't know, I'm not Wikipedia, bro. I just know that album is so sick, and Vogg is probably my spirit animal. He's the guitar player that I always aspired to be. God, what an amazing player. And actually, at first, I thought that the riff in this song was all downpicked, you know, because it kind of sounds like it is. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's a G, like he downpicked that whole thing. You know, he was like, you know, like he could do it for sure. But I actually reached out to him and I asked him on Instagram, I was like, hey dude, do you downpick that whole thing? And he replied and he said, no, it was alternate picking. So it was few facts about that album that he told me in our chat. He was saying that the amp he used on that was a Mesa with a BB, an exotic BB preamp, boosting it. Basically, he said that album was fueled by death metal and weed, and I was like, can we be friends? Oh, hey Bella. So this Kemper tone I dialed in specifically for this video, it's just my 5150 profile, but I took the green scream, you know, tube screamer off of it and replaced it with a rat pedal and boosted the shit out of the gain, added another gate to it, and this is what it sounds like. So I was trying to go for like a decapitated sort of sound for this, for the sick riff worship, obviously. I'm not sure what they use for a cabinet, but it's such a distinct sound and it's really unique to him. But that guitar tone is so gnarly on that record, man. And I was trying to go for some sort of recreation of that. But since we mentioned trying to get a death metal tone out of the Plini plugin, what do you think, Bill? Is that the take? So if you guys like this content and you want to see me keep doing it, you know, pick up a DVD for cheap, pick up one of the shirts. I think I might still have a few shirts left. I know I have to order more. Last time I advertised merch on a YouTube video, you guys bought it all. So that's really great. That does really help keep this going. And I want to try to bring you better content, get more involved, and just do a better job overall. I'm just having fun, you know, like this is just how I've spent my lockdown. I built this camera rig and changed the studio around a little bit to be more multimedia oriented. And having fun is what it's all about. So that's it for this week. Don't forget to leave your question down in the comment section of this video and it might show up in the next Down to the Merrow. Ah, your fucking breath is terrible. Hey, you guys like this killer dragon bell thing I got when I was in Taipei? Apparently, it'll bestow upon you ancient wisdom when you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Nothing happened. This thing sucks.